Hello, everyone, and welcome to Plate Stack Chat. And if it is your first time here, maybe you're here to see a particularly strong guest, then welcome. My name is Jason, or Jason CF Media on Instagram or here on YouTube. Feel free to follow and subscribe. It really does help a lot. And what I like to do is bring out some fantastic guests for a fun chat. So let's get them out right now. First up, well, I generally assume most of my guests are stronger than me, but rarely am I certain that they are this much stronger. She was the strongest woman in Canada in 2021, 2022, and 2023. She has the Canadian log press record of 260 pounds or 180 kilograms for the majority of the world, and the circus dumbbell world record of 2 reps at 185 pounds or 84 kilograms, which is about 13 kilograms more than I weigh. But most importantly, we will have the pleasure of watching her compete in person at Rogue in November. Please welcome the phenomenal Sam Belliveau.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you for having me.
It's not going well because I think I said Belliveau and I think it's Belliveau.
Belliveau.
So I messed it up already, but
okay.
that's okay. That's fine. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you.
I mean, that's a pretty impressive resume right away. So I look forward to learning more about that. But before we do, we need to welcome our second guest. So joining Sam and myself is a man. Well, I don't know if he's ever used a circus dumbbell, but he certainly does know how to be a clown. If you've seen him on the Glint and Things podcast, you know that's true. But he has promised to be on his best behavior today. And with Rogue moving to Aberdeen this year, I thought it only right that we bring on a Scottish expert. He is the man behind Lochloy Barbell. It is, of course, the charming Mr. Yon Clark.
What an introduction that was. Yeah.
So, Sam, you're new to the show, but basically, that's the level of that's the best bit. That's happened now. I put in 90% of the energy and effort goes into the introductions, and then
now
the rest
let's
is
shoot the shit. Yeah.
Well, welcome both. How's everybody feeling?
Great.
Yeah. So it's like, I think it's, what is it, 1:30-ish for you at the moment, Sam?
It's almost 3 o'clock.
Oh, almost 3 o'clock. Oh no, it's 2:30, isn't it? Yeah, I'm thinking I'm on the American times again. It's 1:30 for them. It's like, yeah, we're 20 to 7 here in the UK.
I'm the first time zone before America starts.
Yes. Wow, they need to start, those guys. They're lazy.
I know.
So, I mean, Sam, there's some crazy numbers there.
Thank you.
Have you just always been strong?
So I grew up my whole life, right from the get-go. At 4 years old, I was put on skates as a Canuck.
I was going to say that's
grand nature to be on skates super young. And I had so many cousins growing up. So like right away, I was a tomboy. I've been a tomboy since I've been 3, playing sports, shooting the shit with my cousins my whole life. And I guess I just kind of created like this really great nature of like being strong, being rough, like moving heavy rocks outside and then going out and playing ball hockey. Like I was always involved in movement, in very strong athletic things as a kid. I also have great genetics. Like if I look at my aunts on my dad's side, like we're all really built, big boned, I guess, and I like to call it. But I think it's more of a driven thing for me that's bringing me to this kind of next level of when we talk about world-class athletes. I've been working my whole life for things, but nothing's came easy. I always had to put in a lot of work. Like I remember shooting like tons of hockey pucks bucket back when I was younger outside, and that kind of was like my punishment sometimes. Like if I didn't behave or whatever, my dad would say like, go shoot some pucks. So I guess I was always like drilled to like work hard on your skills. And as I got older, I started succeeding in hockey. I started succeeding in what I did. And then when I got introduced to a barbell, it was kind of the same headspace into as much work as you put in, the output will kind of match itself. So I don't think I've always been strong, but I've always had a really good work ethic.
And great genetics, apparently. So those two things, when they combine, that's my problem, is the bad work ethic and terrible genetics. So that's not helpful. Jon, you were about to speak. Sorry.
Did you play high school sports then? Did you play ice hockey in school or?
Yeah,
Like,
so I played all the way up to university. I actually had like discussed with like some universities back in Boston and stuff, but I think I was so young and naive back then. Like I was only 17 when I graduated high school, and I was so lost in like the world being so large. And I'm from a small town that with like 1,200 people. So like for me, like
awesome.
doing those big steps was something that I was terrified when I was younger. So like for me, staying home, being a little bit more comfortable with it. So I played university hockey here, but school wasn't my thing. Like I just wasn't like academically, like I was just not book smart. I always was involved in sports. Like in high school, I played every single sport, like from soccer, baseball, or softball. I did the hockey, volleyball, any like type of semester that had a sport. I was in it, and I played really well. I remember like grade 9, I won the softball MVP of like our league, like high school league, and like that was the first season I've ever played softball. So like
Yeah.
I caught on things really well, and my dad was and my mom, like they're both they were really both athletic. So if I wanted to learn a skill, they were there to either guide me or bring me to someone that was able to guide me, just so we could kind of stay out of trouble, I guess.
Mhm. I'm assuming with it being such a small town, 1,200 people is crazy. I live in a small town in like the north of Scotland, which that we're talking like there's between 12 and 15,000 people here. So to think 1,200 people is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm assuming there wasn't like strength and conditioning programs within within high school sports back then.
No,
That's what I'm trying to
and
think, like,
no, at all. And what's crazier is that I went to university in town, so I went to a bigger city. I think there's maybe like 100,000 people in Moncton, which is like 45 minutes out of my hometown. And I didn't touch a barbell in high school, university. It's crazy. I literally like all we did back then was like beep tests, push up. Like it was so like and thinking back, like it's so crazy how if I would have been in the gym back then, I would have been so much better. Because now like I go on the ice outside with my cousins and I'm the best skater, I'm the best shooter. Like I have my skills from hockey. I played 20 years of hockey and I'm better now that I haven't played in, well, probably nearly now 8 years, 7 years. So like it's crazy to think that my skills have gone so much better without even doing it, but just by touching a barbell and getting stronger in the gym.
that's like strength and conditioning. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I do so much conditioning work too. Like, yeah, I'm a straight athlete, but I love to move. Like, I'm super inspired by like CrossFit athletes and track athletes, people that move in that conditioning way and their body weight. Like, I do love moving a heavy dumbbell or log, but I also like to move my own body weight and like on certain degrees. So I kind of have a really good mix of both when it comes to my training. I'm also not a big, strong woman athlete, so I do need to get some points when it comes to moving events, and because I know I'm going to be falling behind on static events, so I need to keep my conditioning in, and for me to be a part of an explosive athlete is super important.
So I did want to
Yeah.
ask about this because I saw so I saw like a post you put up maybe today or the other day where you were on the rings and you're like and I
Don't judge me on that.
no hey, would I? Would I? I'm not judging anyone. No, I was
I have a set of rings and no one ever uses it, and like I do inverted rows on it and I'll do some like stupid stuff, but like I just love swinging. Like I love being able to move my body, and yeah.
but that's what like when I think, like when you think of people playing around with CrossFit, yes, I expect to see them swinging on the rings and I expect to see them lifting a heavy barbell over their head. But I also don't expect that heavy barbell to be as heavy as what you're lifting. Like, do you know what I mean? Because I'm putting you over here in sort of the strength category. But at the same time, I don't expect, if I'm scrolling through the list of the strong men and women that are competing at Rogue, I would not have predicted to open one of their profiles and see them swinging on the rings, just because I would be like, that's not what they do. Like, how dare they?
Yeah, and like yeah, I know, but like and again, I do need to go find like where my strengths are, and again, it's moving, being explosive, and like every week I'll do wall balls, I'll do skier, rower, like bike, like I do a lot of conditioning pieces, like at the end of my strength workouts, like with box jump, Like I'll throw in a Metcon or a WOD here and there, and I find that super important. And I don't think it's just physically. For me, it's like mentally. Like I've been moving my whole life. Like I was doing 45-second shifts of hockey my whole life. So for me, like those interval training are like engraved in me, and like it's like I crave that like short span of like conditioning work. Sometimes I go longer, obviously some longer pieces, but I love to keep those in there, and I think it builds a more rounded athlete, and that's kind of what I kind of go towards.
Is that unusual though, when you're sort of maybe when you're chatting with the other women kind of backstage before going out, like are they doing similar stuff, or are you kind of an outlier in the way you approach it?
I honestly do think I'm a little outsider. Just on the sense of like, again, I do a lot of those pieces and I train. I probably have within my whole week like 7 to 10 trainings, which like most strong women probably have 4 to 5. But for me, a lot of pieces they're low impact. And if they're not about to crush my CN and they're just actually going to help me loosen up and recover better, well, I just find it as an advantage. There's also that happy medium. Like there's weeks where I'll go and just do my 5 strength training a week, but then there's days where like I need movement and I need to bring in 2, 3 metcons, and I usually do like a cardio session regardless every morning. And that's just kind of like because also I own a gym, all my companies are involved in the gym, so I'm in here all the time, and I want to be a good example for people that are walking through with my gym doors, and so everything kind of comes together into like creating. And I do also do think we're all kind of unique athletes in our own way, and we get to decide what path you go to. And if I only want to do strongman, I could, but I like to be a little bit more fluent in my training. So kind of just builds my own self.
Yeah, oh, that's nice. I've got to ask a question as well because you've just said strongman. What are we supposed to call it? Because
I
I
find that
always,
we're the women of strongman. Like I
yeah,
think strongman has been there, and I was a linesman, and I didn't call myself a lineswoman. Like so, like
Yeah.
I have respect for the names of the sport. We're just the women's of
yeah.
strongman, and I think that we should just keep calling it that.
Okay, because I always found I default to strongman, and then I catch
Hmm.
myself almost, and
Yeah,
I'm like, because I was telling someone that I was like, oh, I've got this person coming on the show. Oh, she's yeah, she competes in strongman, strong woman. I like, I don't know. It's
yeah.
that sort of okay. So we'll go blanket strongman. That's fine.
Hmm.
I'm happy. See, I'm learning. So my thought is this: is that I'm going to be at Rogue.
Okay.
Hopefully with a media pass, but that's still pending.
Mm.
But if not, I've got a ticket, so I'm going to be there. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to be there, I'm going to want to see what's going on with the strongman competition as well because I'm there.
Yeah.
And I'd also like to know more about it, and I'd like to know more about the athletes because if I'm reporting back on what's happening within the kind of CrossFit competition,
Hmm.
I want to be able to also, as I'm here, and especially if I do get the media pass, I'm like, I'm here and a media. Let me talk about both. Like that
Hmm.
makes sense. And I think anyway within CrossFit, because we deal with so many different types of kind of fitness and sport anyway, we like watching it because we see kind of I'm thinking of like the sandbag clean event that we had at the games,
Hmm.
or the log press they did at Rogue
Yep.
last year, like
Yep.
so we've seen that, and we see kind of what the CrossFit, the top level CrossFit athletes can do, but we know that there are other people that are specialists that can do even better. And it's like, and we love seeing that as well. We kind
Yep.
of don't go, oh, they're not happy. It's like, no. We want to see how amazing they are. So that's sort of,
Hmm.
so I'm looking forward to this, but I'm like, I need to learn. I need to get more on. So I know it's in November. I look at that as giving me plenty of time to get on some other athletes. So Sam, also send me some names if there's people that you're like, oh, this one's cool. You need to get them on. And also tell them that they have to come on. That's the other really important thing to do. I have a question about Rogue as well, because for us within the CrossFit space, it is like one of, if not the most prestigious competition. Like
I think it's the biggest prize purse anyway, isn't it?
Is it the biggest prize? I think unless you're going to win the games, like it's more important that you go to Rogue. Like you'd
Yeah.
rather go to Rogue and come fourth than go to the games and come fourth. Like the only good thing of like getting to the game, winning the games and being able to say you are the CrossFit Games champion, there's like that title, that's impressive. And like even speaking to Alex Kazan, she's like her motivation at the games is to finish high enough to get invited to Rogue. Like that's the goal, right? In the world of strongman, where does Rogue sit as like the Invitational, like in level of kind of prestige? Because I'm really intrigued to know how big a splash it's made in strongman.
Do you want to take over, Jan?
Do we? Oh no, you go for it.
You're good. Okay. So
I'm the strong one here.
so Rogue Invitational is quite special because this is the first year that the women's are being part of it. We are also matched in the same cash prize as the men, which is the first in history. It's the biggest first cash prize, over 100 grand. Everything's paid for us. Like, this is like a very prestigious show this year. This is the show where, if you're talking about making a good salary year, this could be it as a strong woman. And we've never heard of that. The biggest cash prize I've ever competed for was 10 grand, and that was a couple years ago, which it was a middleweight show. But other than that, for the women's, like, America, like the states have kind of got it together where America's Strongest Woman is 25,000. But other than that, like, Canadian shows are about 15, 3 grand, like couple grand, like barely paying, like your way to the show and like cutting it even. So Rogue Invitational is definitely the prestigious show of the year. It also is kind of up there when it comes to the Arnold. For us, the Arnold is kind of the CrossFit game, and then you do well at the Arnold's, you kind of get a good chance of crossing over to a Rogue Invitational, and vice versa. So yeah, like I knew, like finishing in fifth at the Arnold UK, I was in sixth in Ohio. I won the dumbbell. Then we went to UK 2 weeks later. I finished fifth with 2 event wins. I thought, like, I wasn't like 100% sure because it's still the first year that they came out with the Invitational, but like I was like pretty confident that I would get my invite. Especially like there's only two of us Canadians on that podium, and obviously Rogue kind of wants a little bit of everyone around the world, the best Canadian states, UK and whatnot. So I was pretty confident that I would get my invite, but it's a really big show. I had a competition next weekend. I stepped out of it to really be able to focus on Rogue.
Oh wow! So it's sort of it's a similar. I guess the difference is that within the CrossFit world, the kind of the equal pay for the male and female athletes was the norm.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, if that's not the norm in strongman, and now Rogue
No.
are coming over from, doing they're kind of bringing the CrossFit style over. That's shocking within that sport, but for us, we were like, "Oh, of course you get paid the same. Why wouldn't Rogue pay you the same? They do that for the CrossFit guys."
Yeah, and I think, like, honestly, like, I don't know, Jan, if you remember Arnold last year, where we first got our first go on the Arnold stage in Ohio. It was only last year there was the Strong Women Arnold Classic, and we were at, like, there was I think it was like 5,000-6,000 people crowd, and it was the biggest Strong Women show ever. So, and the fans, the commentator, like everyone was so engaged in the women's competition. And I don't think I'm wrong by saying it that it's the same for CrossFit, where people love to see women do shit. Like, they love to see them move more than their body weight, like over X amount of time. They love to see us do repetition with things that were not even doing 5-6 years ago, or like, like it's crazy to see the evolution of women. And in a strength sport, women are definitely beautiful to watch, and I think that's why we're starting to get on the same level as the men. We just got to pave our way. The men been around for a long time. CrossFit kind of came together with women's and men. They rose both at the same time. For us, I just took us 20-something years, but here we are.
But I mean, because this also fascinates me with the strongman women division, is like within CrossFit, it's been nice that a lot more women have started picking up barbells in general.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I kind of, even though it has changed, and particularly like in the bubble that we are and the people we speak to and interact with, it's kind of like, yeah, of course they'll go and pick up a barbell. But then I speak to people I know that are not within the CrossFit world and not within, and maybe they ask for some advice, and they're like, oh, I just wanted to, and it's like, oh yeah, you should, you could do this, you could do that. It's like, oh, I don't want to get too muscly, I don't want to get too bulky. And you're like, that's that idea of kind of picking up a dumbbell and suddenly you look like Schwarzenegger is still, it's still for many like this mentality. But then I think with you guys, it's like a step above, because you're not picking up like a little dumbbell. You're picking up a, what was it, 84 kilogram dumbbell, 185 pounds. Like that's insane. So I'm curious to know like how you got into being like, you know what, because you said you've been super sporty, you've done loads of sports, that's clear. Where did the barbell and like lifting really heavy things kind of, how did that appear?
So after I was done university hockey, I went to college and graduated there for 911 operator. And then I went on to be a full-time dispatcher for emergency services. And then shortly within like my first year on the job, I got a sick leave for mental health. So I just wanted to get something like I was getting into partying and drugs and alcohol, and I was like, I need something like healthy. And then my cousin at the time, she was engaged with a fitness manager at a Good Life, which is like our big gym brand over here. And he was like, "Hey, look, I'm looking for someone to just work the front desk, fold towels." And I was like, "You want me to work at a gym? I've never been at the gym. I think at this time I'm probably 20 or 21. Yeah, I want to say 21." And yeah, and he hired me. I folded towels for about 4 weeks until they're like, "Hey, you got to get to know the gym. You got to know what you're talking about when you're serving people." So I hired a personal trainer. First time I was deadlifting, I think I pulled more than 2 plates. I remember it was like two and some change, and they were all mind blown. They're like, this is like extremely good for your first time, and na na na. And I already had like a really good starting base for my legs, and then I just got really hooked. And then I got like thinking like I could put my headphones on, go into the gym and do my own thing and like progress at my own pace, at my own rate. I played sports my whole life, which was a team sport. So like you're only as strong as your weakest link. And I'm so competitive and I'm a hard worker. So if I knew someone was on the team wasn't working hard or they'd be out partying or whatnot and it would affect the dynamic of the team, I'd get super frustrated and it would suck because, I've been putting all this work in and I just felt always defeated and I wasn't able to achieve my full potential as an athlete and not knowing that weightlifting was just out on the other side of the door. And so when I started just training on myself and getting stronger and I started powerlifting and it was so soon, I think within 6 months I had my first powerlifting total and within a year I had national records in powerlifting. And then the Canadian strongman championship was coming to my home province. They had no women's to represent, and they're like, "Hey, you need to go do this strongman competition I think it was like a month." And I was like, "Okay," and then I jumped in and finished fourth, and that was the start of something because it enlightened something in me. Within a year afterwards, got at the same national, won every event, clean sweep. I had worked 365 days. I knew I could win that event or that contest, and I turned pro heavyweight in Canada, and then yeah, so many other titles after that. But that was the start of it.
So
what year was that? Your first strong woman competition?
My first strong woman competitions was back in 2016.
Oh, okay.
16 or 17.
So you'd only done powerlifting like a year and some change.
Yeah, super quick.
That's crazy, eh?
I got into some single ply too. Like I was benching like single ply within like 8 months of touching a barbell. Like I got like I got brought into some single ply way too soon, but it's fine. That's how you learn. Like after I was done with powerlifting, I was like, oh my God, I was so weak raw. So I got to build on my raw strength. And it's been quite a different journey. Like we'd all be experts when we first start, we'd all be like Arnold, but we all have a different start and a different path. And I think my start was a little wonky, not knowing exactly where I was going with strength training or with this in general, but it saved me from a dark spot and it's brought me to now being a top class athlete. So it's cool.
That's it, yeah. Getting to Scotland to compete.
Yeah.
Doing equipped lifting in your first year is quite that's thrown into the deep end.
Yeah, my biggest total was 1340 at 181. So it was still pretty decent.
What's that in kilos? What's 13?
I knew. Do you know what?
1,000
Earlier, I was like, I'm going to bring up a converter. I'm going to have it ready because I know this is going to
I
come
know. I'm
up.
sorry. I'm not a kilo.
What's that? Like 450 kilos?
Sorry, what did you say it was again?
It was 1,340 pounds.
607.
607. Oh,
Yeah.
Look at me and Jon. We're our math skills.
Yeah.
It kicks in eventually. Philip has mentioned something, and I would never ask any other strongman this, but he said he thought it was going to be a High Rocks chat when he saw Jon was on. So Jon, you've done a couple of High Rockses. I've seen.
Yeah, 4 now.
You've traveled a little bit of the world to do it as well.
Yeah.
Sam, would you give High Rocks a go, or have you already done it? And I wouldn't normally ask, but you've talked about the amount of conditioning you do. Are you familiar with High Rocks? Have you seen it?
No.
Oh, so this is also really good that you don't know what it is, because again, within the CrossFit world, there's this constant question of if High Rocks is going to like take over and be bigger than CrossFit, and is High Rocks and
really?
And within CrossFit, everyone knows what High Rocks is. But I've asked people, again, like just people I know socially that don't do CrossFit, but I asked them if they know what CrossFit is, and they do. And I've asked quite a few if they know about High Rocks, and majority are like, no idea what you're talking about. So I still feel that CrossFit's safe for now.
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh, okay. I'm just gonna boot Jon off of the chat for a second. Anyway, it's
okay.
Okay, well, Jon, you tell us what it is then. You've done it.
It's like fitness racing. So it's kind of like CrossFit functional fitness stations, that in between each station you do a 1 kilometer run. So in total, it's like 8.6 kilometers over the race, but there's stations that break up the running.
And it's always... It's
always
a locked-in format, so it's always the same.
Format. Yeah.
So I love that. I actually really like that.
And so what are the different stations you're on? So it's a ski erg, it's
ski erg, sled push, a sled pull, burpee broad jumps, walking lunges, a row, farmer's carries, and wall balls.
Cool.
So everything that you like doing.
Yeah, I think you would absolutely destroy the sled pull, the sled push, the farmer's carry for you. Would be just...
Yeah, it'd be very light.
Cool. I need some more information because I kind of want to do a workout like that.
What's the weight on the wall ball? It's so light as well.
Oh, the wall ball for the female is only like 4 kilos, like 10 pounds or something.
You could do it with one hand.
Yes, with my head.
You do a 100 of them.
I like Heidi's description. It's running with distractions.
Heidi's done a few as well.
Well, you see, she's also a super athlete. Yeah.
We all need distraction when we're running. I do, anyways.
Yeah.
I gotta keep entertained.
Oh, do you listen to like music, or do you listen to a podcast, or what do you when you're running?
Oh, I'm a country girl, so I listen to
country music. There we go. Okay.
Sentimental music. Honestly, no, like country, and then but I can go from like country to like Tool. I absolutely love really dark, heavy music. So it all depends. For me, it's all a state of mind, like how I'm feeling that day. I've got like bad ADHD and like so much shit going on in there. So whatever I'm feeling like before I'm working out, I can put it on. Sometimes I need to be emotional. Sometimes I need to be pissed off, or I gotta kind of find my groove. But I have so many playlists of music. Usually when I'm out running, though, it's like some calming music for sure. I run by the ocean and it's really soothing. So I like music that matches that.
How do you find that affects you when you're competing? Like, if you're like tied to like how you feel with the music choices? Yeah, you get to an event. Oh shit!
I have a playlist full of fucking different it goes from like genre to genre, like, and then I'll pick. I usually start with the first one on track, and then I'll swipe until like I'm like, okay, this one can speak to me. I get it really deep into my music, especially on calm day. It's crazy. There's like just a couple weeks ago when I competed at North America, it's like, I don't know, I was super sentimental, Sunday, knowing what I had to do to finish where I was standing and to be super satisfied. So I had to go get some really deep feelings and like almost crying. So you go a little bit more on the soothing side and a little bit more. Honestly, words or certain songs that are just in my playlist just so for a couple of really good lines in there, and so it all depends honestly. But I do have playlists for everything.
And then see when you get out on the comp floor and you're not in charge of the music, do you just kind of zone out? And then obviously
Yeah.
you're in front of a big crowd anyway, so it's like the music's just going to kind of get dulled out.
Yeah, when I get on the comp floor, I don't listen to the music at all. It's honestly like the second I step in, it's like me and my judge. Because like I do a lot of judging on strongman, and I know what it is like spending that like either 45 or 60 seconds on the floor with your judge. I've always had the mindset of like, hey, we're in this together, right? Like he wants you to have a good 60 seconds, and you want to be sure you're clarified. So I kind of get in the zone with the guy or the girl that's right beside me on and who's counting my reps or whatever, and I black out. Like I'm very good at like zoning out, and it's like tunnel vision on cone. Sometimes
Yeah.
I'll hear like if we have a game plan, like if you look at my circus dumbbell video, you can tell after my second rep I look over at Max because we had a game plan and I know where he's at and stuff. So I kind of always know if someone's out there looking to give me either sense of direction, but if not, I tunnel vision and I just kind of trust my training. I go back like kind of like in the gym. Like if I know I've done this log 10 times in the gym, I go in that moment where I've done it in the gym to kind of bring me a sense of like peace and like calmness, and so you're not nerved. All your nerves aren't everywhere when you hit the floor. I think that just kind of comes with like experience and like doing it a lot of times. Like, yeah.
Would you notice if the right song came on?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, if you're on a night, because we'll be there, if we spoke to the DJ and we're like, this is the song you need to put on when she comes out, like, would you notice that, or you're just too in the zone that you would be like, sorry, wasted opportunity?
Okay, so again, it depends. Like, am I going into an event that's I'm super confident, so I'm a little calmer, I'm able to kind of hear those noise, or is it like a deadlift where like I know every ounce of energy needs to go in that bar, and then I'll tune out. So, example, if it's a circus dumbbell and I'm out there and I'm having fun, as I'm walking out, I'm super confident because it's something that I'm super good at and I know it and I trust my ability. So I might even look out in the crowd and wave to whoever's out there. So it all depends, like how I'm feeling for the event at task and how I'm dealing with everything.
Is pressing your favorite like kind of events? Or
what's that? Sorry.
It's pressing. Obviously, you've got the circus dumbbell record, which is a pressing movement. Is like static strength your like favorite kind of events, or being probably a lighter athlete than a lot of the like women out there? Do you prefer like moving?
I love moving. Like I love dumbbell. I just got really good at it because I got stubborn. I got hurt 3-4 years ago, bad injury, and I wasn't able to use my legs at all on any upper body. So, and I really like dumbbell. I was like generally really strong at the beginning. So I just kind of got really stubborn at like learning it really well at my way. Nobody else's way would work for me. So I worked it my way, got really well. But if you look at like my 260 log isn't like incredibly impressive when it comes to the top tier. I have a 535 deadlift. It's not impressive. It's last place at the Arnold's. So for me, like I know statistics, like I'm still strong. Like I'm still pulling 535 pounds. Like I'll pat myself on the back any day.
242.
Like, I think that's great.
Yeah, 242. Yeah, not very impressive. 242.
I was literally about to say I've got that beat by about 5 kilos. So I was embarrassedly about to say, like, I know what that weight is because mine is around there as well.
But like, if you think about it, I pulled that at the Arnold in March and I got 1 fucking points because all these chicks are pulling 600 pounds plus. So,
Well,
but I know where I stand. Like, I know where my deadlift stands and I'm okay with that. It's going up. But like, I just need to make sure that like when it comes to a sandbag toss, that's like I love that. Like that's my jam, and I know I'm a super explosive athlete. That's why I do all this explosive work in the gym because, example, we went to the UK and I never did a one-arm toss with a sandbag, and I ended up tying for first on that event. not having no experience on that. So that's where I'm able to trust my abilities and like go get those points where I actually can. Um, like even like we had a yoke to dumbbell mentally. I know the yoke I was a little heavier for me because I'm a middleweight, but still I'm like, fuck that. I'm gonna work really hard because the second I get to those dumbbell, it's mine. And that's what I did. I
What's
just
what's the middleweight like the weight bracket
82 kilo.
kilos? Yeah. And
Hmm.
then see when you get to Rogue, that's going to be like all kind of weights, is it? Or
What's
or
that?
is it
Sorry?
just when you compete at Rogue, is that going to be
It's
against
open.
people in middleweight, or is that like an open?
It's open. I think there's two of us that are middleweight, the two Canadians.
So that's
Yeah.
so cross fat. Well, I've been asking because we were talking about the high rocks thing. He was saying strong women run. He was
Run.
confused about that, and now his question is: Sam undersized to her peers?
Yes.
Yes, at Rogue, I guess.
Let's not. No, I'm not doing CrossFit at Rogue. But I mean, again, like I'm not saying I'm going out for runs like Tia's doing every day or like they're doing. You know what I mean? Like if I'm at home and I feel like I need to go out and move because again, like I don't move always to become faster and stronger. Sometimes it's to break muscle down so like I could feel better and recover faster. Um, Sometimes I'm like I get out of this leg day and my legs are so pumped. I'm out for a run, like a walk run, or it could be anything. And sometimes it's honestly just yeah, because I have such nice territories back home and I just like to the outdoor and I like to go out, but like I don't schedule my running in. I don't, like I just know I need movement. Like I'm not naive when I say like if you want to become the best athlete, you need movement. You got to move your body, be able to move your body with X amount of weight. Yes, I train heavy, but I also know that my taper offs are really important.
Do you think there's a degree of like health and longevity that sort of considering the way
Hmm.
you've been brought up and you've always been active and physical and you saying about like your family in general kind of have that obviously you're saying like I just move because I know I need to move and I want to move and then it seems like it's this kind of innate inbuilt thing for you. Do you look
Hmm.
ahead like down the line and think, well, I know in the future the fact that I've been looking after myself in this way and because also we had a question that is would you consider going up to heavyweight?
Hmm.
Would you do that or does I get the impression that it just wouldn't fit in your
So
lifestyle?
when I started strongman, I was 235 pounds. So I lost about 50 some pounds ever since I met Max. Like at the beginning of my professional career, because I won Canadian as a heavyweight, and then I lost. I was just food is fuel, and that's kind of like I feel like I'm a later riser in the sport or in my strength career because again, because I'm such from a smaller area like if you people don't even know like we exist part of Canada, so I feel like we're a little bit behind when it comes to our universities having proper strength equipment. Like I know now for a fact that my university do have sandbags and they do have all this equipment because I talk to them and I let them know what they need in their gym. That would have made me the best hockey player back in the day. But anyways, I do think that I run better. I recover better at between 180 and 190. So probably 82 kilos and like 85 kilo is like my super comfortable spot. I'm 5'9", so I don't know what that is for you. Sorry, but I'm just under 6 foot.
We
Okay,
can
five
deal with
nine.
that. We're happy
Oh,
with
you
that.
can deal. So, I mean, like I'm taller, and I just thought like anything over 200 pounds for me, I started getting slower. My hands, like farmers, um, I don't know. For me, just the bigger I get, chunkier my hands get, my grip gets weaker. And I think now with just like having my life a little bit more like stable here in the gym, and like we've had a rough couple years, and now I'm more like I can concentrate on being a full-time athlete. And for me, being a full-time athlete doesn't per se say like adding 50 pounds to my body weight will add 50 pounds to my deadlift. So I don't add the 50, if it takes me a couple years more to add 50 pounds to my deadlift, so be it. Again, I'm looking ahead of it and I want to do this for the rest of my life, like not as the top level, but I want conditioning and strength and all of those like aspects be part of my life and my future. And I know that it's just helping me.
Has
Have you?
the
Oh, sorry. You go,
right?
Jan. You go,
I was going
Jan.
to say since you like started, has the like strong women scene in like Canada like picked up? I know certainly it's getting bigger in the UK, and I didn't know anything about it. Obviously followed Strongman just because in the UK we get World's Strongest Man on Channel 5.
Yeah.
You know, Christmas kind of holidays.
Yeah.
Even though you know the results from 5 months prior, you watch it at Christmas time. But it wasn't until I started working at the gym that I'm at now, and there's like strong women at that gym. There's a good community of them, and like they've in the UK now they've got a strong women league, which is like
I know.
altogether. Like, I would have never known like it was even like such a big community until like starting at the Forge where I am, and there's like there's 2 or 3 like strong women that compete like at like a decent level.
Yeah. So the sport grew so much. Like again, like I said, I was the only girl in my home province, so they needed someone to represent. And we just hosted our provincial this year, and there's I think 65 athletes, and like half of it was female. So like, and this is like within 7-8 years, and it doesn't sound like a big growth, but like for being such a small province, like back here, like in the East Coast, our population's not big, but it's like strongman is it's such a sport where like everyone's welcome, but like there's a spot for everyone to push hard, and like there's a sense of like feeling like a badass bitch when you lift an Atlas stone or like a log, and like those things are so empowering. And like for women's, for like 50 plus to like teenagers, like there's this place for everyone in Canada, like especially in our sport, like around the world, but in Canada, like I have 18 weight classes, so like everyone is absolutely welcome in their division, their age, their weight, and it's a very sense of big community in our CrossFit, in our strongman world. And you guys will definitely like feel that in Scotland, where like everyone is super just like so helpful one another. Like I know I'm against this chick, but like at the end of the day, I want her to hit it, and I want her to do her absolute best. And you guys will definitely notice that it's just a little different in our sport, because we know it takes so much out of us to push those heavy weights every week, and it's a lot of training that goes into becoming one of the strongest in the world, and we respect the shit out of each other.
Yeah, I see them. I see like the community and the strong women. I'm not obviously part of that community, but I see it because they're in the gym and they really support each other. Well, there's a lot of powerlifters and weightlifters in that gym that they pretend to support one another.
Yeah.
You know? But there's like the strong women actually are like supporting each other, helping each other.
I know it's this really cool thing that the sport just kind of came through, and like there's a huge photo of us at the Arnold Classic where like all the girls were just hugging in the middle of the stage, and they're literally my sisters, like those 10 girls that kind of like that we're at the top together now. It's like we've become a family, and we've become part of like this ultimate team of like strong women badass, and like we're able to kind of show the next generation and the older people and the younger people that like, you know, being strong is beautiful. And we go through so much hate and so much stuff and negative shit on social media, but like when we all come together and we do this crazy good thing, like it kind of like it's all worth it. Like more like, I don't know, it's being part of a sense of like such a movement. And like I do really think that us strong women are a movement in like in the future strength of our sport. So
So I've got 2 questions then linked to that a little bit. Is first of all, like, have you got any kind of young girls that are coming up following you that like your training, or the ask or reach out to you and ask about strongman and how you got into it, or any advice for them, and sort of, if so, kind of what sort of ages are they already looking at like getting into this?
Oh, absolutely. Like I would say, like every other day I open up my message and it's either a mom that's messaging me about her daughter, how she's inspired, or a younger girl that's just looking for guidance and advice and how to get started. They're starting to see that it's a sport again that's like kind of it's a sport where you're not just doing the squat, bench, deadlift. Your movement, you're doing empowering stuff. So I would say like a kid from like 17, 18-year-old girls will reach out to me, and even guys, like for guidance, just to know where to start. There are so many strongman federations out there now. I know that there's gyms that are starting to get a little bit more equipment. I know strongman equipment, it wasn't quite unique at the time. Now it's like getting a little bit bigger in certain gyms, especially that the CrossFit athletes are kind of starting to dip into our implements, so it's a little bit more popular around the world. And um, I would say all up to like 60. I have clients that come through the gym here and they're 65 and they want to learn how to do a sandbag pickup and walk. They want to do, all those certain things. Maybe not like the extreme to Atlas tone, but like even then, like back at our old gym, we had 105 pounds Atlas stone. So it was kind of, again, it was warm and welcome from the get-go to older people or younger people that wanted to start and everyone in between.
And then you mentioned that you guys put up with like a lot of hate or kind of a lot of,
Hmm.
I guess, attacks on social media.
Hmm.
Has that sort of, obviously, you're mature, you can probably deal with it a little bit better than some of these young people. Is that a barrier for them, that maybe they start this journey and then they're not quite ready for the kind of that backlash, or or do they kind of know it's coming, or do you even let them know that it's coming and then they're, because I think, especially younger people, that their life is on their phone and their life is social media.
Hmm.
Like for for us masters athletes, social media is an element that we use, but at the same time,
Yeah.
like, we remember life before social media. So I'm just curious to know if that is, because that's always the fear, isn't it? It's like, people say
Uh-huh.
these things online and it's like, great, but you do realize the negative impact you're having on the sport in general, that you are just blocking people from pursuing these kind of paths. So yeah, I'm just
I
curious.
think I think I started like kind of my strength training when social media was starting to get um, a bit more popular, like especially the Instagram now with like, all of our sponsors and being able to post your success or your fails or whatnot. And you don't expect to get a whole lot of, you don't expect it at all at the beginning until you're super naive. And women's weight muscle are still something that a lot of grown ass men and women aren't accepting and are acceptable of. And I think we just have to be okay with that. I want to say that I'd like to say that I'm a way mature athlete now and I'm okay with them, but still bothers me when I get, 200 comments on a post and with that one negative comment just rattle me. And I kind of over 99 other comments, but I've gone a lot better. I've had my dark days with it. I've had my moments where I thought this is the end. Why would I why would I even do this? But then again, having that kind of community that backups you and like they're just constantly reminding you that you're pushing a new barrier, and when you're pushing a new barrier and you're starting something new, people are going to have comments regardless. And I read this once by Rob Bailey was telling this to his wife Dana, and he was just telling her like comments are comments. It means you're making me people think, bad or good. You're letting these people have an opinion on you. So don't let the opinions define you, but let these opinion means that you're doing a movement. So I think if I know that I'm doing a right movement by inspiring and keeping the light in for women's to get into some strength sport, which obviously strongman isn't really much appealing when you talk about it as a to women's, right? Like asking a woman to start strongman, she'd be like, why? Like it's a men's sport. So to be a kind of a face of that sport, I think we just gotta to keep shining and just keep putting some beautiful stuff out there through our sport and keep having those conversations with people like you guys too, to like, you know, show you guys that we're humans. We might have all our different sports and our different work ethic and our different paths, but I think at the end of the day, we're just trying to be better humans and to be better at what we do. So fuck those comments. I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear.
Well, it's live, so
Okay.
Yon has to hit a button or something to stop it. Doesn't matter.
But yeah,
Well,
that's my thought on
it
that.
shows your passion for that, at least.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know. As you talk, I hear, again, like, so I'm within the CrossFit space just because that's sort of, that's the training I do, and then the podcast and things like that started from within there. But I mean, the idea with like Plate Stack Chat was that I would get people on from different areas of, you know, of fitness, because, you know, there's a plate stack. A lot of people use weight plates, so it's fine. It's not limited to CrossFit. But I, you know, I always just like love hearing, you know, if you're passionate about it, like it's great. But I just don't understand why, you know, you can be, if you're passionate about your sport, even if I don't understand it or I don't get it, or, you know, it doesn't appeal to me, I'm just happy that you're doing something you enjoy. I just,
100%.
I find it, you know, I mean, I don't really want to, but I can't really get into the mind of someone that's like, oh, I need to come and comment on this. You know, like to a degree, I don't necessarily agree with it, but I get it if it's like, you know, they do CrossFit and you're posting stuff on CrossFit and like they're clear no reps or they're doing something wrong and you're commenting like, you know, that's not right. And I still think like, does it matter? Like, you know, if it's not a, you know, as we were saying last week on the show, it's like, unless you're submitting this as a score for a competition, it doesn't really matter, does it? Like it's just, you know, ultimately you're cheating yourself, because when you do submit it for a competition, you've not been practicing good standards. That's your own fault. So I kind of get it, but I still think it's unnecessary. But if I'm like not involved in the sport at all, and you're, you know, for whatever reason I've come across your video, like there's number of steps you're taking to then leave a comment. It just, I don't know what's going on in these people's lives. I really, you know, I struggle with that. But anyway,
my first podcast that went like viral was with like Brian Shaw. So this was, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, and I just got on the scene. I think I just had won worlds, amateur worlds, and like I was just putting my name out there, and I did a podcast with Brian, and like the comments on there were so disgusting, and like I kind of just went like, I just shut down for like months, and I was like, fuck social media, and like all of a sudden I was like, there was something missing in my life. And honestly, it was those genuine connections though that you still get through social media. So in my head, it's like, you know, you can't 100% shut those comments off, but like just know that they're giving you a little comment on your posts, and turn that like, oh, like I don't know, I don't even want to start with the comments, but like turn those upside down and know that those bitches are just on their couch eating fries and they can't do what you're doing. So yeah, I mean, just be the bigger person. And it did take a lot of time on me, like to work on myself to be better at that. It's unfortunate that we kind of value ourselves sometimes with what other people will comment. Like there's days where I just had a really bad day because this guy just wanted to jump in on my video and, hey, wow, is this a dude? And all of a sudden it would ruin my day. And I'm like, this guy, I don't even know. He probably lives across the world and has never trained in his life, just ruined my whole day. Like, how did that happen? And that's kind of how you just start accepting, like, you can only do what you can do in your day, and don't let someone from that you don't know that has nothing to do with your life dictate how you're going to feel. So it takes a lot of time. But as a woman in a strength sport, I'm here to say to every other athlete that it takes a lot of time, but we're doing the right thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it wasn't for this show and needing to use like Instagram to message athletes and people like that, I'd be off it immediately. I really, it ruins my life, but I need it to reach out to people. So I still use it for that, which is annoying. But I think one of the great ways I've heard people look at it is just whenever someone comments, like the algorithm doesn't know if what they're saying is nice or not. And it all just adds to like the algorithm going, oh, lots of people are talking about this one, we'll push it out to more people. And so
I know.
inadvertently they're helping. So that's the way to look at it, is like, you know, you're stupid, you're saying something stupid, but you know what, this is helpful, so keep doing it.
As a lot of people are, when they commented negative stuff, it's coming from something insecure that they have going on within them, like within themselves. Like those people that are commenting negative stuff, like that's from an insecurity of their own that they're just projecting out there to the world. You know?
And like, I mean, I don't think you can be perfect. Like, there's always going to be someone commenting about someone out there. Like, example, Carrie Underwood did like a concert and people were commenting on how jack her quads look. Oh my God, she just had a little bit of definition on her quads and people lost their shit. And I was like, see, like, you know, like Carrie Underwood's a performer, she's a singer, but like, imagine being a strength athlete behind like actually wanting to grow your fucking quads. Like, you can't please anyone. Like, you're either too masculine or not enough. You are too big of a shoulders, too weak of a shoulder, and then you're like, I can't buy so just by letting everyone let them do their own thing, let them talk their talk, but just keep walking your talk. Um, if you want to become the strongest athlete in the world, walk your talk, be the strongest athlete in the world. And obviously being strong means you're going to be adding muscle, so your body composition is going to change. And now all of a sudden you're not that Barbie figure anymore, which I grew up, that's kind of how you were supposed to look. You were supposed to look like, super skinny. And like, I remember growing up and reading all these magazine that my mom would get, and it would be like 5 salads a day. I remember those meal plan, and this is how you should look, and this is how you should eat. And I'm like, and my whole, that's why all of a sudden I'm like 230 pounds, which I had no business being there because I was just a big lard. And I was like, okay, well, this shit's got to change. Like, so, you know, eating to perform isn't about eating salad all the time, like eating your protein and eating your carbs and fueling your body to perform. And then your body grows and you add muscle, and all of a sudden the girl that was on that cover, I don't want to look anything like her anymore. I would actually want to look like an athlete and look like a performance athlete, because that's what I'm working on.
It's been interesting with the Olympics currently going on. I've seen a lot of people posting up about kind of the different body shapes of athletes, and
it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's actually wild.
But it's also, such common sense as well, and it's also not. It's also not new. Like,
I know
we've known that. I mean, you can go to extremes. You look at like sumo athletes. Like sumo wrestlers, and you're like, we've always known what they look like, and we've understood that they look like that for their sport. And we've always known what a gymnast looks like compared to a swimmer, compared to a cyclist, and we know that within for men that they all look different like that.
Yeah.
Like at what and while men and women are different, ultimately we're all humans. We're the same in the sense of like, if you lift heavy weights, you get strong, you build muscle. Like that's pretty normal. So the same way, if one is focusing on a sport that predominantly uses their legs, they're going to get bigger legs, and if one is mostly doing upper body strength, they're going to get big arms or whatever. It's just like,
but I do feel like the comments I know, like I was reading so many comments this week. I got lost in like a 2 hour thread the other day where it was like all the body shapes of the Olympia, people just like, and I'm like, people have been doing this sport for like hundreds of years. We know what a 1,500-meter guy will look like compared to a 100-meter sprinter. Like, he's going to be skinny, like, because he needs to run longer. And people were just mind blown about it and like bashing their body composition. I'm like, why are we still in, like, it's 2024? Why are we still doing this shit?
Yeah. But then we have said like that it's interesting with you because you're not our typical image of strong. But then you've also explained, you are. I guess as well, because for me, like the small window I have is either the heavyweights or like at Rogue where it's completely open. And so when you're, but I mean it's similar. Like CrossFit doesn't have weight divisions, which is the thing that I like and also hate, because I'm one of the small light athletes, and so like for my body weight, the weights that I can move are pretty good. The problem is it's just like I very quickly get up to body weight when we're doing movements, and other people still have another 20, 30, 40 kilos to go before they're hitting that. So I'm like, well, this seems unfair, but but that's like the norm within CrossFit, right? That we so seeing that at Rogue for us will be like, well, yeah, of course, who cares about weight classes? But for you, that's going to be quite a challenge.
Like for me, like I have open classes throughout the year, but at the end of the year in December, it's called Official Strongman Games, and technically we call it like our World's Strongest Women. So all amateur and pro athletes can go to the show in December, and they put you in your weight class, so you battle for your weight class. So that's like a month after Rogue, but I do intend on like being a very good contender for the top spot this year for my weight class. And then there's also like World Amateur in your weight class. So there is a couple places where as a pro or an amateur, you can still compete within your weight class. But for us at the top, it's the same as the CrossFit. It's open class, and small or big, we're all put on the same pond, and it's fun. Honestly, it's cool because you see some strength rise. Like Lucy Lucy pulled 700 pounds at the Arnold, but then I went and did the world record in the dumbbell. So like we're always like going up and down, and I think that's kind of what keeps us. That's what keeps our sport entertaining. Honestly, like we have some explosive athletes, some really strong athletes, still some strong athletes that can move, which is impressive. So yeah, kind of like we're kind of like a football team where we all have our strength. And
but it's also really good to see like when it is a bit unexpected, you know, when you are like the smaller. I think to do you remember like there was a max sandbag clean event at the games a few years ago, and it was
sandbag
Jacqueline
shoulder.
Dahlstrom, wasn't it, that was like one of the smaller athletes, and he's just like, you could not believe that she was picking up this bag. And then you had like Danny Spiegel that you would expect,
yeah, but she still went up to two. I think it was 230. Wasn't she the top two with Danny?
Yeah.
She went up to like.
But like that's the great thing, right? And so I think it's the same thing when you've got these open weight classes. It's like, you're the big strong person. We expect to see you do this, and then you get the, you know, the smaller but still very strong person do it, and you're like, oh wow, like that's really cool to see. So I am
like I won the Giants medley, it was called, in the UK. I'm the smallest one there. And it was the yoke. It was a 300 kilo yoke to 3 dumbbell, and that's what I was talking about earlier. Like if I just had a really good young at the yoke, I knew the dumbbells were mine, and they were really heavy dumbbells too. So I got through the yoke and then banged out 3 dumbbell when there's only one other girl that finished, but it was super slow. So those are the things that, like, being a smaller athlete and winning the Giants medley is kind of fucking cool. That was probably the highlight of my trip to UK. So, but yeah, for me, it's just about finding my place and making sure that I solidify my place. So meaning like I keep working on my strength, so they can showcase when the time arrives, and make sure I minimize on my weakness, and I'll still be at the top.
Nice.
Do you think now that we're seeing Rogue debut like strong women, do you think we'll ever see like someone like Giants Live then bring over and like have world's strongest woman like side by side go out?
I think that would be amazing. Giants Live started doing. They did the UK and Europe for strongest woman. I think that is so dope because they sold out the arena for the strong woman UK, which I think is just amazing. And I do think that Giants Live have a lot of power. And if they do like the women, they could really start pushing for us. They're bringing women's at the deadlift championship, hopefully at the log championship. So between Giants Live, Arnold's, and then Rogue, I think at the top part, like that kind of looks like a good, how do I call it, like a circuit for the year. I did hear that maybe Brian wanted to bring Strongest Woman on Earth. I think that should be another thing that's coming out too. Maybe not for the first couple years, but that's one of the biggest shows that we have in every year. Brian Shaw puts on this show with the 16 strongest men on Earth, and a heavy show. He fills out an arena too, so I don't think there'd be nothing wrong with bringing a women's roster, but yeah, women's have so much potential, and I think it's just starting to it takes promoters to bring us in.
Yeah. As you said, with like these big events, then more eyes are on it, and then there's more interest to go. And I mean, it's similar like with the CrossFit as well, in that like you can only lift a heavy thing so many times in a day. Like it's only, so there's big breaks in between, right? So fill those breaks with the women's division, and it's you know, it makes sense because people that are there looking at the men are probably also interested in what the women are doing. So it's sort of you're building, and then you're also adding the people that were actually more interested in the women because, you know, that's what they do as well, and sort of thing. So yeah, let's hope. I mean, it sounds like it's heading in the right direction. So you know, and this looks like Rogue's going to be a good payout as well. So that's nice.
It's good. I've always wanted to go to Scotland, and obviously we're going to stay a couple of days later and travel around and lift some stones and hang out with Luke and Tom. We have so many friends up in Scotland, and I'm excited. I'm really excited for November.
So Heidi saying, Jon, as an expert, talk about how you would train a client for a strongman comp. Jon is on as a Scotland expert.
Yeah,
So,
I was laughing when you put that on my story last night. I was like, well, I'm gonna get some stick sharing this on my story. Like,
I don't know. Yeah,
Okay, well, can I put my input on that? I'm a coach,
yeah.
but to start a strongman, like honestly, don't change a whole lot. Don't go out there and train strongman 5 times a week because you will either get hurt, sore, you won't progress. So you still have to keep your compounds in. So a squat day, a deadlift day for sure, and then do your like deadlift variation and squat variation. You always have a deadlift in a strongman show, like 99.9% of the time, unfortunately. So train your deadlift is super important, but have your push day. You can also, depending how close you are for a show, you could add in like a strongman implement as a push day, but also just like your normal barbell axle push press. And then I very big on a pull day, so like a back day. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a strongman day. So I do have I like to have like a Saturday or Sunday weekend where it's like you do 3 to 4 events, kind of mimics a small comp. So when you do get to a show that you're like a contest should be easier, way easier than training, in my opinion.
do
So that's kind of how I do my just a starting basic strongman, like not going in details. That's kind of what I would
you
suggest.
ever do you ever clean with a barbell anymore, or do you just use like axle and log?
So I tore my shoulder last year, and I'm still healing from it on a barbell clean because I had one at official strongman games, and coach had me going for a very heavy single, and I have no technique on weightlifting, and I was just muscling up, and I
I was
got
gonna
to
say,
like I think it was 240, and my shoulder just didn't spin right enough, so I stay away from barbell cleans. Axle's a little bit easier for me. Just like even like the whole movement, I just really like that there's not you don't need a whole lot of mobility for axle. But you could get as much power from your shoulder on like doing some block press and axle than barbell. I think barbell is very technical, so you have to be a bit more careful.
yeah, that's what I wondered. Obviously, because like the
Hmm.
bearings of the barbell over like a log or an axle.
Yeah. Even dumbbell, like I wouldn't suggest like a fresh client from strongman wouldn't go in and do circus dumbbell. It's one of the most technical implement out there. It's super difficult and weird, and you can get so hurt on if you press outside too much or inside too much. Like things can go wrong, and you still have to like starting strongman's cool and it's really fun, but like you do need to make sure you have someone that keeps an eye on you because like dumbbell, yoke, even like a carry. Like if you carry too low, like or too high, you can if you're turning wrong in the wrong direction or too fast, like you can strain something so easy. And that's why, again, we respect each other so much when it comes to strength sport because we know what it takes, and it takes a second, and you can be out of your sport.
Yeah.
But again, like keeping it super simple is like the key, and then you get a little bit more. Uh, you add in more like I'll add in a metcon and some wads and stuff and a lot of it has strongman implements in it, like sandbag carries and sandbag to shoulder farmers. But like do that once you have a little bit more experience and you kind of know where you're going from show to show.
Metcons and what? I wasn't expecting to hear this as well from a
Yeah.
strongman competitor. So this has been a really nice middle ground for me. So then when I bring on the next
Cool.
strongman and they're like just strongman, I'll be like, okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
I've kind of like gently moved across. Heidi's added a few more comments. I'm also looking forward to seeing Heidi now compete in strongman. So I'm looking
Oh,
forward to her first comp. I thought Jon is also a coach. My mistake. He is a coach. You're
Yeah,
a PT, aren't you, Jon?
yeah.
He's a
I
coach, but he's also officially my expert on Scotland. In which case, okay, next
Inverness.
question: where is a good place to stay in Inverness?
Yes.
There's no first question: why do you want to stay in Inverness? Rogue is in Aberdeen, which is about 3 hours from Inverness.
Mm-hmm.
But if you wanted to stay in Inverness, go and stay at the Loch Ness Country House Hotel.
Oh,
I stay. Sam, I
Birchfield.
stay.
That's what's
Luke
right.
and Tom Stoltman are pretty local to where I am in Scotland. They're about 30 minutes. I don't stay in Inverness.
Well, oh. Sorry, Jeffrey Birchfield said that he saw you competing at Rogue. You look
At
incredibly strong.
Arnold. At Arnold's, yeah.
Yeah, at Arnold's. Jeffrey, was it at Arnold's? Not at Rogue. John speaking English, or is it just me? Oh. Go on, they're making fun of you.
Um,
Okay, can I stay in your? All right, it's go man now. Have you been to Scotland before? Then you said you've got a lot of friends up there, Sam.
No, I've never been. Max went from like a quick turnaround a couple of years ago for a Giants Live. Um, I think he was like there for maybe like 18 hours. Like he flew in, slept, competed, flew out. But we've always wanted to go, and I think we were just kind of waiting for this like big show opportunity. We knew either it would be another Giants Live or I guess Rogue. And when they announced that they were going to Scotland, between me and Max, I'm like, one of us can pull it off. I'm like, if he like Max went to Rogue, has been a Rogue athlete for 2 years. He didn't get invited this year, but then I got invited. So I'm like, okay, at least someone's getting the invite, so we get to go. And I hope next year that we both get invited.
Max is your husband, right? Yeah.
Yeah, my fiance.
He saw you in person at Rogue in the crowd. But
Oh yes, oh yes. Yes, I was there with Mac. Yeah, in Texas. We were in Texas for the last 2 years. So the crowd is so fun there. And I'm also a very big CrossFit fan. So I was a big fan that weekend.
Yeah. That's the other thing that surprised me when I was scrolling through your Instagram and I saw there was like you had a quote from Tia. And I was like,
yeah.
Okay,
I read all their books. Like I follow them so closely. And I just like things like, and like I like even Simone Biles, like I follow them closely because like as like you get to your top of your sport and like especially that like we're kind of new, like our sport is new at the top, so I don't have like I do have a lot of people to look up to, but people that have been at the and I'm talking about the top, I'm talking about Tia and like Simone, like women's that are like literally empowered their sport, even like there's just so many women to talk about. So obviously I look up to them. I look what they do to be able to stay there and how they got there and what are they doing in their everyday life. So if I can do 1% better, like they're doing, like, it'll make me better at my sport. So obviously I look up to these women. Serena Williams, like she was a big, especially one of the first women I started looking up to when I just started doing sport. Like my parents like pushed me. Like I never played tennis. I played pickleball, but I don't play tennis. And like, but still, it's not the fact that it was tennis. It was the fact that like she's a very empowering woman, and you should look up to her, and you should be learning from her.
Yeah. Well, it's similar to the way you can take like lessons from the gym and apply them outside of the gym, right? We always say that, and it's sort of like, yeah, of course, somebody who excels, even not necessarily just in sport, in any field, like you can learn from their drive or like their, their mentality, the approach they have with things. So why not? Ronda Rousey's been added as well by Heidi. Okay,
yeah,
right, very good. Okay, is it better for you then? Like, I'm sure Max would have liked to have been invited as well, but is it kind of good that it's just one of you there? Because if you were both competing, do you think that would be a little bit intense and it would be hard to kind of enjoy the experience as much? Is it better that it's one of you competing and one of you supporting and kind of, or is he, is he a bit annoyed?
It's so hard because I really love to both of us have. It is, obviously, but especially with the exchange because we're Canadian and our money's shit. So your money's beautiful to us. But I think there's like two ways to look at it, and like we have done so much growing up and maturing in our sport in the last month, in the last I would say 6 to 8 months, that like it might be good now. But I know that like I really love when like it's either just him or just me. Like we did do North Americans together, but it was also two different separate show. The Arnold does everything together, women and men. I got my invite last year. Max broke his foot, and I got it again this year, and then he tore his lat. So we've never been able to do any other big international shows together. I know we'll have our time and place, and I do think it's going to be next year. But I think I really like it when we're able to kind of take care of each other, just because we know emotionally what we need and how it's super important. And it's so draining. Like North Americans, to both of us together, he had eight events. I had six. That's 14 events all weekend when your adrenaline literally goes up and down every event, because like when he's up on there, it's like I'm up there. So it's very exhausting competing together, but we train together all the time, so that it would only be another training session. But there's so much that goes on to a comp floor rather than just being in your gym. Like when you go to a
I love the
competition,
way
you
you say
have
it
like,
would just be another training session, and you know that's not true. You said it, but even
yeah,
as you
no,
said it, you're like,
exactly.
well, the
There's like media, you have like media, your warm ups, like you go out and like test out the equipment. There's a lot of things that go into a show, and then having to do it all, both of us, all like the whole weekend. It's a lot, but we've done it before. Like we've done a few shows together. It's just I really like when we're able to take care of each other, and but yeah,
Even probably down as simply as like managing the nutrition side of things. If there's only one of
yeah,
you competed, like
hmm
if both of you are, you're having to run
double the
around like
food.
yeah.
Sam, you
Yeah,
get
like if
first
Max
pick on any
competing,
food that
yeah,
weekend. You are like, that's mine, and if there's anything
The
left, you
last
can
thing you
have
want
some.
to
But
do, yeah, the last thing you want to do is come out from like an event
exactly.
and have to go and worry about going and finding your own food. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Like I'll starve all weekend when he gets competing just to make sure he's eating. Like that's just it, right? Like whatever he needs on that weekend, like he's top priority, and vice versa. Like he takes really good care of me. Like at the Arnold's, Ohio, like he got her on the first event, so he was able to really coach me on the 5 events, and I'm sure that's why I hit that world record and did so well that weekend. Is just because like you have that extra person in your brain that's kind of know what's going on in there and knows when to bring you down and when to pump you up, and so.
nice.
Mhm.
Is Max your coach, or do you have like the same coach? Do you coach each
We
other?
coach each other. Yeah, we coach each other. We go on the fly too. We've when I first met Max 5 years ago, he had never had ever had a coach, and he's been training for 12, 13 years now. So when we first met, it was like kind of finding our balance as like couple athletes, like training partners, and it was super difficult. But we found our groove quite quick and well, and we went on and hired coaches. We've had 2 coaches in the last couple of years just to really help us with our deadlift. Like we're not being naive. We know we're very good pullers, but when you're only pulling 1 or 2 points on that event at the show, it's a weak point. So we've had a couple coaches help us with our forms and some bad injuries, and then now that and I think for the last year, maybe 8 months, we've been doing our own thing again, and it's working. Like having both of our heads together when we do our programming, and we do 4 week waves ahead of time, but we'll do adjustment on the fly, because we know that it's strongman and there's days you feel great and there's days you feel like shit. So things need to be adjusted, and maybe your percentages drop a little bit. You'll add some bands to work on some, when you feel like you're sluggish, adding a band can make you work on some explosive and create some great patterns. And I don't know. We're really good at making sure we're working on everything.
Nice.
Mhm,
Power couple.
mhm, mm.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Well, I'll be looking for you at Rogue, but I will now also be like scouring the crowd and making sure I see Max as well. Pack
Mhm.
some extra food just in case he's sacrificed all his meals for you because he's worried about your nutrition, and then passes out in the crowd, because I don't think I'd be able to
That's
drag him
kind.
off anywhere. Wow. So thank you so much, Sam, for kind of walking us through a lot of this. It's been very interesting, and I hope to get, between now and November, some more from the strongman competition
Mhm,
on, because I think it will be, it's nice to hear your strengths and weaknesses and the different challenges. And it always feels like we have more similarities than differences within the
mhm.
sports and stuff. So I just think it's nice to get to know the athletes before we see them do ridiculous things on the on the stage.
Yeah.
And Jon, it's been lovely having you on as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and you dealing with Heidi's comments as well. And yeah, Heidi
Well,
is asking if it is past your bedtime. It's 8 p.m. Jon.
yeah, I know. I actually need to go and get my son, so it's not past my. He'll not even be in bed yet.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we will wrap up now then, I guess. Thank you again, Sam, for coming on. Thank you, Jon. Thank you, everybody, for listening, watching, in the
Thanks for
comments.
having me.
It will also go up as an audio-only podcast probably on Friday. So if people want to share that around, because you've got friends that are, they're too busy to sit in front of YouTube, but they can listen to stuff when they're running. If it's not country music, then they can stick on this podcast instead. We're really excited to see you compete in November. We'll be there. Have you got anything before before November, or you just now?
I do. I have my fort title that I'm going to go defend. So Strongest Women in Canada is happening in October. I'm hosting and competing in it. So I'll be defending that title, and then I have Rogue and an official Strongman Games to finish the year. So I got 3 big shows coming this
And
fall.
you just sort of pack them all in next to each other. Let's just do them all in one go. Okay.
I like that you're hosting and competing.
I know I've done this before and I don't learn from it, but I mean, that's other part of my job. I run the Canadian Federation for Strongman, and every so often I need to host nationals. And this year I'm bringing everyone in my hometown, and I'm excited to. We'll probably have about 200 athletes or so, and Friday night it's us, and then I'll be able to kind of be free the rest of the weekend and help out with the amateur scene. But it's cool to be able to host and still run it, and I want to win the my fort title here in my hometown, so that'll be important for me.
And that would be good, because then if I ever get you on the show again, I can introduce you as 21, 22, 23, and 24. So that will be even more powerful.
Yeah.
Heidi's finally, she's just saying that she is doing High Rocks in Toronto. So you see, it's happening in Canada anyway, Sam. So you should.
Cool.
So everybody go and support Heidi then on that. So once she's finished her High Rocks, then she'll start the strongman training. That's what I'm understanding. That's what I've. And if she needs a coach, Sam, you know, I'm sure she will reach out to you. I'd already said goodbye to everyone and sort of wrapped it all up, and then I brought up that comment. So I guess we'll just end it here. So thank you, everybody, and see you soon.
All right.
Cheers.
Thank you.